All right, for this video lesson, we want to talk about solving equations again. And the point of this video is to talk about they look like one-step equations, but you really have to do them in two steps, okay? So if you've already watched my video on one-step equations, this would be the next video right behind it because I want to discuss when the variable is not positive. Because in the first video with one-step equations, all of the variables were a positive variable, okay? So we're going to be taking a look at questions where all the variables are negative, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at this first one. I'm going to rewrite it. And I'm going to solve it two different ways, or show two different methods for solving it, okay? So I'm going to do my best, and maybe you all can leave me some feedback in the comments to let me know how I did. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to solve this the traditional way. I'm going to draw my line down the middle, all right? And I'm going to focus on the left side because that's where the variable is. Now, there's a -7 with that variable. So to get rid of that -7, I want to add +7 to both sides. When I do that, we get negative, oops, let me use my black. Negative v equals, those are the same signs, so we add equals +17. Now, whenever you solve equations, the variable must be positive. So to get rid of that negative in front of the v, we would have to essentially divide both sides by -1, okay? Now, when we do that, the v becomes positive, okay, because the negatives cancel out. And then you have to simply do a positive divided by a negative, which is a negative. Okay, I'll write it over here. A positive divided by a negative is equal to a negative. So our final answer would just end up being -17. Okay, now that's one method. Now another method we could use is by simply rewriting our equation. All right. Now when you rewrite it, one thing that they really don't teach in schools that often is how to move terms, right, from one side to the other. There are 3 terms here. 2 of the terms are on the same side, and 1 term is on the opposite side of the other 2, okay? So -7, -v, and +10, those are our 3 terms. Now, what I want to do is rewrite this so that my v term is positive. So what we're allowed to do, if I move this v term to the right side, the sign has to change, okay? So I'll show you what I mean. For example, I'm going to show you a different couple ways to rewrite it. If I move the v, once again, if I move the v over here, okay, let's show you what that's going to look like. The 7 is going to stay on this side here. So that would be -7, and then I would put equals 10 plus v, or we could write -7 equals v plus 10, okay? Now, let me use a different color to rewrite it another way, okay? If I wanted to move for example, if I wanted to move the 7, the -7 to the other side, if I wanted to move the -7 to the other side, remember the sign has to change to the opposite. So for this one, I could rewrite it to say -v equals 10 plus 7, or I could say -v equals 7 plus 10, okay? So that's how we're allowed to rewrite it. And just for the sake of showing it, let's say I move the 10 over here, okay? What would that look like? That would be -7 minus v minus 10 equals 0. Or we could have the -10 in front, then the -7, then the -v. But either way, when you move something to the other side, the sign has to change to the opposite, okay? So let me get rid of these things now. And let me get back to what I was showing you. So I want to move it so that my variable is positive. So I'm going to move the variable over here. So when I rewrite it, my equation is going to say -7 equals 10 and positive v. Now, when I go ahead and solve for this, this now looks like a regular traditional one-step equation where I want to get rid of the positive 10 by adding -10 to both sides. And when I do that, the 10s cancel out, and I'm left with v equals, since these signs are the same, we add them, and a negative plus a negative is a bigger negative, which in this case would just make -17, okay? So there's two different ways to solve this. There's multiple ways people can show you to solve these type of equations. I'm just showing you two. But let's take a look at number 2, okay? Let's go ahead and rewrite it first. -x plus 5 equals -1, okay? And then -x plus 5 equals -1. Remember, I'm going to show two different ways. So the first time, we're just going to start by moving things away from the variable. There's a positive 5 with the variable. I want to add -5 to both sides. By doing that, that makes this -x equals, now, these two have the same sign. So we add them, and that's going to make a -6. Now, to get rid of the negative x, or the negative with the x, I want to divide both sides by -1. By doing that, the negatives cancel out, and I'm left with a positive x. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So this would be x equals, and I should be writing that in black, x equals +6, okay? Now, if we do it the other way I showed you by rewriting the problem, I would obviously want to move my x over here to make it positive. So if I did that, the 5 would stay where it's at. The -1 would now have a positive x on the same side with it. And then from there, since there's a -1 with the positive x, I want to add 1 to both sides, right? The 1s cancel out. I'm left with x equals 5 plus 1, which is +6, and I'm done, okay? We'll finish up this video after we look at these last two problems, okay? And right now, you could pause the video and try this one and then see what I come up with to test your answer against mine, okay? All right, but I'm going to go ahead and finish this problem out. I'm going to rewrite it. -c minus 4 equals -8. I want to draw my line down the middle. There is a -4 with the -c. So to get rid of that -4, I want to add +4 to both sides. That's going to leave me with -c is equal to, now, I have to combine these. They're different signs. So we subtract. 8 minus 4 is 4. And since the 8 is larger, the 4, our final answer has to be, well, that 4 has to be negative. It's not our final answer. Now, to get rid of the negative with the c, we divide by -1. And whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. When we divide by -1, the negatives cancel. We're left with c, and then a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 4 divided by 1 is 4. So our final answer should be +4, okay? Let's take a look at number 4. For number 4, I'm going to do this by rewriting it. So I have, first, we're going to have 9 minus w equals 12. And when I rewrite this, I'm going to rewrite it so that the w is a positive w. Because right now, if you notice, this is a negative w, and I want to move it to this side. So when I move it to the other side, it has to become positive. So the 9 stays on the left, it's still positive. The 12 stays on the right, it's still positive. But now when I write the w, I'm going to put plus w. Now remember, some people may write it like this. 9 equals w plus 12. Okay, that's the same thing. The 12s are both positives and the W's are both positives, okay? But I'm just going to leave it like I wrote it right there. And now I'm looking at the side with the W. There's a positive 12 over there. If I want to get rid of that positive 12, I have to add negative 12 to both sides. By doing that, I get rid of the 12s, and then that leaves me what W is equal to. Now, these signs are different. What do you do with different signs? You subtract. 12 minus 9 is 3. And take a look at the larger number. The larger number is 12, which means that our 3 has to be negative. So W is equal to -3. And that will conclude our video.